Good evening and welcome to the United Stand. You're all very welcome. Lots to talk about on this Sunday evening. Records have been broken this weekend. Unfortunately, Manchester United are a little bit like a broken record at the moment, permanently stuck in 6th place. I think that'll change. I do think we'll end up in the top 4, but there's lots to discuss. Some people very, very happy with the result and the goal yesterday. Some people unable to mask their disappointment at 2 points dropped, looking at the bigger picture. I'm not going to judge either, but what I do want to do is scratch the surface a little bit and talk about what is going wrong with Manchester United. Missed opportunities, it seems, week in, week out. Liverpool losing to Swansea yesterday. Obviously, the Spurs and City draw. We could have been within a win of them. We're now still a couple of results behind most of them. So, a missed opportunity, I feel so. But let's start off with the Mourinho cull. I've got Alex with me. I certainly feel that looking at the game and the post-match, I mean, it makes me laugh in a way because I was obviously disappointed with the point. I think some fans were. And Jose Mourinho was very disappointed with the point. It was very abundantly clear from his press conference after, or his post-match interview afterwards, that he wasn't very happy. He didn't talk about it as a point gained from the Rooney fantastic free kick. He was talking about 2 points dropped based on open goals missed, etc., etc. If you saw the Sunday Ramble, I was already talking about, I think, Juan Mata's very, very perilous position at Manchester United now. I don't like that because I like Mata, but I just think he won't have done himself any favours yesterday. But Tony Martial, we'll start off with him. Alex, give us your thoughts, first of all, on whether you agree with what I'm saying about Mourinho. But I think he's starting to lose patience with some players. I'd ask you if you think that's right, and I would remind you that as far as we know, people are throwing out things that Martial was ill yesterday. If he was ill, I think we would officially know that. What Jose Mourinho said was he wasn't selected.
Yeah, I saw that in his post-match press conference. He was saying that he just wasn't selected, so it wasn't due to injury or anything. So it is quite worrying. The same with he always says about with the injuries that we don't currently have any injuries, and Luke Shaw is never getting selected. So I think they're the two main ones that you think would do brilliant in the Mourinho team, but he doesn't seem to fancy them. Whether that's attitude problems in terms of Shaw, it might be his like weight problems again, that maybe he turned up and he wasn't fit enough, like what happened under Van Gaal. But with Martial, it would just be really gutting if it doesn't work out for him, because he's such a talented player, and you know for a fact that if he was to go somewhere else, that he would absolutely tear it up and be one of their best players. So he would be a huge loss. So I really hope that we don't miss out on him.
Yeah, I'm looking at the comments on Martial. I'm a massive fan of Anthony Martial. I'll tell you what, if he'd scored the free kick yesterday, I would have had an orgasm. I love him. I absolutely love Martial. He's up there with Rashford for me. I get that. I think Alex might bring up, we were certainly talking about this on the direct message group that we had yesterday, about players being potentially rested for the League Cup that we're 2-0 up for. Mikey94 says Martial will leave, but Nathan says it's just rotation, chill out. But why should we chill out, Nathan? We took a point from a game we should have won. And what I was going to say to Alex there was, with all due respect to Jesse Lingard, because I know Alex is a massive fan of his, he's got a shirt with the name on it. I saw a brilliant comment on the watch along yesterday in the first half saying this game's tailor-made for Martial. Last week he had, like, every time he had the ball he had 4 players around him, but there was so much space in the Stoke game. We were really, I'm not going to say Fellaini or anybody had a bad first half. I think he picked the wrong team. The tactics were bad. It was like he didn't get the memo. It was like we were playing Stoke 4 years ago. We Mata and Mkhitaryan are not that quick. Zlatan and Fellaini certainly aren't that quick. We needed some pace in that team, and I think we'd have been 2 or 3-0 up. And I think it was tailor-made for Martial that game, and that surprised me. But like I said, with all due respect to Jesse Lingard, even in the last 20 minutes, I'd much rather have had Tony Martial coming on for the last 20 minutes than Jesse Lingard, because he's more clinical and he's better at going past players. So I think, there's a lot to discuss about maybe the team yesterday and what's going on. Carrick's the big elephant in the room, obviously, and I think that's the obvious one to go with. But I think Martial not having him yesterday makes me worried, because I think we'd have had better options with him in that team, and we didn't win. So if we'd won, we could go. I still think if we'd won, I'll admit, we would still be saying, what's happening with Martial? He said he didn't select him. Why wasn't he picked? So it's nothing to do with the draw. I think even if we'd won the game, we'd still be talking about it. But the fact that we didn't, I worry. I am starting to think he won't be here next year.
Yeah, that does worry me as well. Like, if you were to go through most Man United fans to give them your best 11, it would be Martial on the left wing and Mkhitaryan on the right wing. So it is really strange that he's not kicking on. He's like shown glimpses that, like, where he scored that brace, and then the other day when he came on and scored, and you think, oh, now we can kick on from here. And because the main thing we've been struggling with this season is goals, that we're just so reliant on Zlatan. And I think Martial is actually, with Pogba and Mata, and I think Rashford, I think they're all on 6 goals. So it just shows that, like, when them two, both of them aren't playing, Rashford and Martial, and yet they're still the second top goal scorer, it just shows, like, how badly we're lacking goals, and it is a major issue. I saw a stat today that in like the Stoke game, the Burnley game, both Stoke games, the Burnley game and the West Ham game combined, we've had 104 shots and scored 4 of them, which is just absolutely ridiculous when you're seeing how many points we're dropping. And it's not like they're shots from the halfway line or something. We were missing so many easy chances yesterday. We missed so many easy chances in those other 3 games, and obviously the keepers seem to always play worldies against us. I thought their keeper was their man of the match again yesterday, but we're just cursed, it seems like. But like, if anything, heaven forbid, was to happen to Zlatan, I'm really worried where we'd be, because we're so reliant on his goals, and if he doesn't score, the whole team doesn't, basically, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, George Kyle saying, Mark, chill out, too many knee-jerk reactions to players being rotated. Well, I think people are entitled to a knee-jerk reaction when we don't win games, and I think with Martial, Martial and Carrick in the team yesterday, I'll stand by it. I think we would have won the game. What I would say as well, I think Arsenal, City, Liverpool and Spurs would have beat that Stoke team 4 or 5-0 yesterday, because we should have done. It's bad finishing, like Alex says. I'd forgotten to do this. I want to just throw what we will be talking through in the game. We'll obviously be talking about United's next few fixtures, top 4. Title probably gone, but we'll talk about that. Is Zlatan clinical enough? I think is a very good point somebody said to ask. We'll be talking about Rooney and his legacy at Manchester United, giving him a score out of 10. Some people are saying he's had a 10 out of 10 career at Manchester United. I'd slightly disagree. We've done the Martial. We're going to talk about Guedes from Benfica, Carrick as well, another couple of things. And towards the end, I really like this one. What player out of the current Manchester United team would make it into the Manchester United 1999 team? It was sent to us by a follower, and I think, towards the end of the show, it's a brilliant one, because I've thought it through, and it gives Alex a little bit of time as well. But just talking about that finishing for a minute, I mean, the stats are ridiculous. Everyone knows what I think about stats, but I think when as you touched on there, I think you take the 2 Stoke games, the Burnley game, the West Ham game, there's a few games, we've scored like 4 from over 100 chances, which is, you can't blame the manager for that. You cannot blame the manager for that. And a few people just talking about Griezmann today. If you've not seen the 2 goals, have a look at them. I did put them up on Twitter, but La Liga is obviously far better than the Premier League, because they got took down for copyright off Twitter. And all I've done is copied the tweets. So, they're not up there anymore. But fair play, that's fine. That's fine. But the 2, one was offside and one was an absolute super hit. And I'd said basically that, for those fans, and I think you said you weren't too sure about Griezmann, even though you look like him. Those chances he scored compared to the chances we missed yesterday, and I know it's different circumstances, but I think Griezmann's coming to United. I think Pogba's dropping hints here, there and everywhere. The number 7's free. He wears the number 7. His brother loves Man United. He loves Beckham. I think if we want him, we get him. But whether it's Griezmann or not, this is where I'm sort of going with this. It's not negativity. I think Mourinho is losing patience with the players he's got, because it's not like we're not creating chances. We're creating a lot of chances. And he needs players to put them chances away. And I really do think Griezmann will be one of those to come in. And a couple of others. He needs people to put the ball in the back of the net. And I mean, I don't know what your thoughts are, Alex, as to who will go and how many who will bring in. Because we've talked about centre-backs and stuff like that. But we have created a lot of chances. And how does he solve that? Because they're good chances not being put away. And how many points have we dropped now? It's getting ridiculous.
Yeah, it is becoming a joke. I never said I didn't want Griezmann. Obviously, I'd be over the moon if we signed him. I just said that it didn't really make much sense to sign him, because obviously, I think if we do sign him, we might change formation, which I worry about, going more of a 4-2-3-1 and play Griezmann off of Zlatan, which I don't really like 4-2-3-1 with the players we have, because I don't think Pogba works in a midfield too, and we only saw the best out of Pogba when we brought Carrick into the team so that Pogba could roam more. In terms of who would go, I think it's difficult, because I think the players on paper that we have, with the likes of Mata, Mkhitaryan, Martial, Rashford, you would expect them to be scoring a lot more than they are. So it's not that they're incapable of doing it, and it's just bad luck, it does seem, because it's like Mata normally would never have missed that goal from a yard out yesterday, and just some of the other chances. It's ridiculous how many we're missing, but I know you're saying, I'm guessing, that you think Fellaini will go. I think he'll stay.
No, I don't. I think he will stay. I said it yesterday, yeah. I think he will stay 100%.
Oh, and then in terms of like defenders, I think that all 4 current centre backs will stay. I think maybe Luke Shaw might go, and I'd be absolutely fuming if we sold him, because it's like you can't tell me that Darmian's a better left back than Luke Shaw. It just winds me up so much. But I know that there is theoretically Deadwood in the squad, but I can't really think of who else aside from maybe Darmian or Luke Shaw that he will sell.
Yeah. I just wanted Fellaini. I wasn't going to mention him tonight. I was going to give him a night off, but actually, he had a very good chance yesterday. And for all those people who love Fellaini, what I would say is he can be a handful in the box, but he's not a clean finisher at all. He had a good chance when it dropped to him, and it went for a corner and deflected, and everyone, oh, that's so close. But when you watch it back, his technique is terrible. At least Pogba, when he does it, and unfortunately, it goes in the one bit where the keeper can throw his hand up. But the technique in the volley from Pogba is really good. Fellaini just doesn't connect the ball. He's not got that technique, so it's always 50-50 whether it's going to go in the net or wide. He's not actually good at heading. He wins the header, but his headers have never really seemed to have... I've seen some fantastic headers of the ball in my lifetime, like Sheringham and people like that, and Fellaini isn't. And I think that he's indicative of what the problem is with United. There was a great comment in there just saying Griezmann is clinical, and that is what we need. We've got Zlatan, and I'm going to talk about him in a minute, but we need a couple of other players who are just clinical. I mean, Mata's miss yesterday was so unlike him. I would have expected him to score that because he does pop up and score goals. And at that time in the game, it's 1-1 quite quickly. We've got the whole game to win it. But Rooney's not clinical anymore. Rashford's not clinical yet. We lack clinical players, and that's why I put Martial in, because I think he is quite clinical when he gets in a decent one-on-one situation. But let's have a look at some of your comments. We need to sign Griezmann now. He knows how to finish as the FIFA player 1, 2, 3. How good was Griezmann? Next number 7 says Kev McGee. Zlatan is not clinical enough, says Addy. Josie's our biggest problem. Let the players get strong in their position, says Shane Richards. That's an interesting one just for a couple of minutes, Alex, because I remember you saying at the start of the season that the one thing about Mourinho is he keeps the same team week in, week out. He doesn't at the moment, and that even surprises me, and I think that is a problem, isn't it? Because I don't understand what's going on with Martial and Carrick, really. I thought Martial played well against Liverpool. Somebody was tweeting me today saying, well, he got put in the pocket of our young right back. No, he didn't. Every time he got the ball, he had 5 players around him. I mean, it's arguable that he's not Lionel Messi yet, and Carrick has played consistently well for about our last 13 games, been the reason we've been on a good run, has half a bad game, and dropped. So I don't understand his rotation in what is always, Stoke away, whether it's as hard as it used to be, is always a difficult game. We've got a massive opportunity to make ground on the teams above. If it was squad rotation, it was weird. I don't know why he changes the team so much. He must be struggling in trusting players week in, week out. You could even argue, why didn't Darmian play at left back? Because as much as I don't like Darmian at left back, he has been his first choice left back.
Yeah, with Carrick, I just assumed I didn't even click on to what you said about him getting subbed off for that poor first half against Liverpool, which is just because he didn't have the legs. With Liverpool, probably the most high energy team in the league, which you obviously can't keep that up for a full season, as it's starting to show now in their recent games. But I just assumed that with Carrick he was resting them because of the semi-final for the Capital One Cup. But I thought that was really weird, because we could have just played Fellaini in that game, I found, and then we have a 2-0 lead anyway, so it's not like it's must win. All we need to do is just draw or win one, even if we grab one goal and the tie's effectively over anyway, because that's an away goal. But the squad rotation is really weird, because at Chelsea and all his other previous teams, he has always stuck with the same starting 11, and then if injuries come in, then another player will come into the team. And with United, it's the problems were at the start of the season that they said he didn't know who his best team was. Now I think he does know who his best team was, but he just keeps rotating people. But could be because we have such a big fixture list of all the Europa League, FA Cup, Capital One Cup, all that now. But it is weird. I'm just hoping that Carrick will come back in for the whole game, because we just look a completely different team with him in the team. The players around him play so much better when he's there as well. And I don't even think Fellaini had a bad game yesterday, but he's not Carrick.
The problem with yesterday with Fellaini wasn't that he had a bad game. It's just that we moved the balls too slow with Fellaini. The midfield of Pogba, it's what we had at the start of the season. It was Pogba, Rooney and Fellaini as a DM, and he wasn't DM yesterday. Herrera was, and I don't think Herrera's a very good DM either. It amazes me that I wasn't Schneiderlin's best fan, and I think he missed a massive opportunity, but he's better than Herrera as a DM. Herrera's not a defensive midfielder, and you may as well play Schweinsteiger there. But I love Herrera as a box-to-box midfielder. That's where you get the energy from. But as a defensive midfielder, I don't think it works for him. But when you put Fellaini in your midfield, as I said yesterday, I'm repeating myself. The reality is it was weird yesterday because we took Fellaini off after 55 minutes, and then in the last 10 minutes we were chasing a game where actually chucking Fellaini on would have been really useful, but we've used him at the start of a game and wasted him really. The midfield's too slow with Fellaini in it, and I know we created chances, but we didn't have any pace, and that was the problem yesterday in the first half. But Mark Goldbridge descent on Rooney is amazing, says Tox Kazim. Oh, believe what you read on Twitter, mate. Watch the watch along. Everyone knows I celebrated the goal. I was just disappointed about dropping 2 points. And to be honest, I don't celebrate goal records. Just like Wayne Rooney said himself last night, I'm not going to celebrate this now. I'm disappointed about the result, but I will look back on it in the future as a great achievement. As will I. I was more disappointed yesterday that United dropped points. Shoot me. And I know a lot of people had lined up to do that, but I'm sorry. I didn't celebrate the goal that much because I knew it was only going to get a point and I wanted 3 points. And to be honest, I didn't even realise till about an hour afterwards that goal won our £10 to £100 bet because I'd said over 1.5 goals. So we weren't going to win it. So that goal actually did it. So it wasn't nothing to do with being bitter or anything like that. I was just disappointed about the 2 points dropped. Let's talk Zlatan. I do want to talk about him. I love Zlatan, as everybody knows. But we posed this question, Alex, about whether he's clinical enough. And you know what? I know where they're coming from with it. Somebody says, why does he stay on the pitch all the time? And I basically replied and said, because he'll always get you a goal. He's always capable of getting you a goal, which has been proved. And then they came back with, but if he was clinical and finished the chances he's had during the game, we wouldn't be waiting for one at the end. And I thought, you know what? I can't argue with it. He wasn't clinical yesterday, and through this season, he hasn't been as clinical as maybe we needed to be. Yesterday was just a mirror image of the home game in a way because we just threw loads of chances away. But there's one that I remember of Zlatan. Obviously he set Mata up for the open goal. You can't moan about that. But he had one where he tried to do it again, and he should have just gone for goal.
Yeah, like a lot of people were slating his performance yesterday. I thought he played pretty well overall, but he just seemed to be in a weird mood yesterday that he wanted to act like creator rather than goal scorer. Like in previous games before, he would have shot on all those different occasions, but there was that one that you said that he was through on goal and then he squared it to Mata and all that, and it's like I don't get what he was thinking. I think I put a tweet out at the time saying, if Zlatan wants to play as the creator in this game, then just bring Rashford on and put him as a striker and play Zlatan behind him, because he was dropping so deep, and then when he was getting chances, he was just trying to pass and lay stuff off, and we need our striker to actually be up and around the box, but the whole game he was dropping deep. It was really weird, but in terms of clinicalness, I've seen his shot conversion in comparison to Alexis, Costa and Harry Kane, and it is lower than the others, but having said that, he's still second top goal scorer in the league, so he can't really complain. Should he be doing a little bit better? Yeah, maybe, but at the end of the day, he's 35 years old, and he's the only player that is scoring for us, so I'm not going to complain about him not converting chances when everyone else is doing far, far worse than him. He's got over double the amount of goals of second place, so we can't really afford to complain about him. He's on I think he's on 19 now, or if not 20. So at this part, we would have bitten your hand off for that in January when he's already scored more than our top goal scorer in all competitions last season, which was Martial on 17. So he isn't scoring enough, he is scoring enough, but he isn't being as clinical as he could be. But I'm still not going to complain about it because he's been a brilliant signing for us.
No, I can't either. I love Zlatan, but we have to go with the United stand. As much as people think it's just about whatever I say, it isn't, and I don't agree with that. But I love Zlatan. I'll back him all the time. I do think sometimes he needs to be subbed, but I don't think yesterday was the time to sub him, because if you took him off with Fellaini not on the pitch, you lose your height up front, and we did need that. Stoke are quite good in the air, so I don't think yesterday was the game to take him off, but I think he could have been a bit more clinical on that chance. But the trouble with yesterday, in a sentence, is it's not a bad result on reflection, but these results become bad results because of all the points we dropped in November. We couldn't afford to draw yesterday. Any other time of the season, you'd be disappointed, but go, you know what, it's not too bad. But because we are playing catch-up, that was a massive 2 points dropped and a disappointing one. However, I must just say... Go on.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say something just on your point quickly that you made about Fellaini getting taken off and keeping Zlatan on for the height. I can't think off the top of my head if we've scored from a single set piece, like as in a corner or a free kick onto a header the entire season. Yet I would think, I'm not 100% sure on it, but I would think we'd have the tallest team in the league. When you have Fellaini over 6 foot, Pogba over 6 foot, Smalling I think is by certainly is Zlatan. So we have such a tall team, yet we never score from corners.
I had a bit of time this afternoon, so I did a Twitter Q&A on the United Stand Twitter account, and loads of people were asking questions. I replied to them all. It was really a really enjoyable half an hour. But somebody said, who would you partner Bailly with? And I just came back with that. I think I'm going to do a video on it because I'm embarrassed. I mean, we do the watch-alongs, and every time we get a cross or a corner, I don't walk out the room, but I basically tell a joke and say, give him a goal kick. We won't score from it, in the hope that I'm going to look an idiot when we score from it, but it never happens. We are so bad from corners. So the centre-back I would buy, I don't care how good Phil Jones is, I don't care if Smalling comes as good as he was last year. Bailly's the best centre-back we've got, and we need to go and buy somebody who's good in the air, because Alex is right, and we've said it so many times. We are so bad at crosses, especially attacking. We have a lot of corners, and we do nothing with them. And yesterday, Daley Blind is a good set-piece crosser. But I don't know what's going on. And it baffles me because Mourinho's always been good at having centre-backs or any players scoring from corners. And it's a massive part of our game that's wasted. We may as well give the opposition a goal kick because it is awful. But yeah, I don't understand it either. I mean, even Smalling yesterday, he's not bad in the air. But we don't ever look like we're going to do anything from a cross or a set-piece. Which I think is why Rooney probably shot yesterday. Because some people said it was a cross. I didn't. I think he went for goal. If I was a Rooney hater, then I wouldn't, would I? So we needed to use the wide areas against Stoke, but Mickey was basically playing as a number 10, says Bonks. Yeah, we lacked pace. I like Zlatan, but even with him scoring goals, we're not good enough this season, says Ray Cole Brown Amarori. Who, if any, will leave in the transfer window? We'll touch on the transfer window in a minute. We need to give Rashford time. He needs to learn to be clinical. Dante Gerrard, yeah. Somebody said before that Fosu Mensah is the defensive midfielder we need. He is. It's going to take time. He's not ready yet. And which United player's wife has this? Oh my God. No. We scored a lot of corners against Leicester, says Jacob. Yeah, Pogba scored from a corner against Leicester. That's right. Well, I wish we were playing Leicester at the moment. Anyway, let's talk about top four because that's where I was going. It just reminds me. So thanks for that comment from I can't remember who it was. Jacob Nilsson. Okay, so top four, Alex. Missed opportunity, as we know. If we'd won that game, it would have been fantastic. In fact, yesterday was a get out of jail, really. Anyway, because I think we needed to beat Liverpool last week. We didn't beat them. But I would have expected them to beat Swansea yesterday. So if we'd beaten Swansea, we would have been 2 points behind them, which is what I expected after these round of games anyway. We're now still 4 points. We've made a point on them. We're still 2 points behind City. We're still 5 points behind Spurs, and Arsenal have gone quite a few ahead of us now. I think they're about 6 or 7. So top four is still very much on. We've got a run of fixtures that people are like, oh yeah, we've got a really good run of fixtures now, but we had a good fixture yesterday that we should have won. I think that's my concern. Is like, yeah, we've got a good run of fixtures. We had a good run of fixtures when we played Stoke and Burnley at home and West Ham at home. And we had a good fixture yesterday. It's all dependent on whether the players put the ball in the back of the net and what team he picks. What are your thoughts? Do you think we are going to get top four?
The issue is with this season, if it was last season, we would have got top four easy. But this season, like, the top six are so much better than everyone around them, so it's very rare. This was like the biggest freak weekend ever. Like, even Arsenal needed to cheat in the last second of the game in the 8th minute of injury time to get a win at home to Burnley. But aside from this week, like, we went on that win streak and we didn't gain any places because everyone was around us was just winning as well. And then this week, Chelsea and then Arsenal were the only ones in the top six that did actually win. So we should be kicking ourselves for not taking advantage. I was nervous about the game because we have, since Fergie left, I think we've won one game against Stoke, something like that, or was it one away game at the Britannia? So our record isn't good there, and they're a decent team. I think that we were by far the better team, and we just didn't take our chances. It was just another one of those days. How many times have we said that this season? But it is going to be tough. The thing is, I think it's our last two games, away games, are Spurs and Arsenal. So if we're in the top 4 by that point, it could be hard to stay in the top 4 because obviously they're 2 really big games. But then if we win both of them, then that could be a really big. I think those games are going to be like cup finals towards the end of the season if it's still as tight as it is at the moment. But Europa League is what I worry about because when we're back in that, you tend to run like a little bit. Like your team gets a lot more tired and everything. I know people who say with the Champions League, but it does seem to have a weird effect Thursday to Sunday compared to playing on the Tuesday or Wednesday. But I still think our best chance of getting the Champions League is going to be to win the Europa League because I think we do have the best team in it. And I don't care if people say, oh, Spurs are better than you, yada, yada. I think if United don't win the Europa League, then Spurs will.
Do you think, I mean, I want to pick up on a couple of live comments there, but do you think, everyone knows where I stand on this, do you think we can do both, considering nobody has ever done it? Do you think you can try and do both, top 4 and the Europa League?
Well, in theory, I don't see why it should be any different. It's like teams, like I just said, I know it's like a psychological thing, but when you think about it, like Thursday to Sunday should really be no different than the Wednesday to Saturday, but it does seem to play a
well, that's because you could have Tuesday, Sunday, couldn't you? Champions League, there's more manoeuvrability.
Yeah, but
sometimes you are Wednesday, Saturday, like you say, but a lot of the time you can be Tuesday, Sunday, or Wednesday, Sunday. The Europa League's always Thursday night and maybe Sunday lunchtime.
Yeah, and then like Jose says we never get given a Monday, which is really annoying. But I think in terms of United, the one advantage that we have over all the other teams, I truly think it is that we have the strongest squad. Because I think you could take out that starting 11 that played yesterday and put in completely new starting 11 that would still be very competitive in the Premier League, whereas most other teams can't do that. I can't think of a single team really that can do that. And I know we are quite reliant on Zlatan, but then if you take away Zlatan, then you put in the Manchester United all-time top goal scorer up front, or Marcus Rashford there, or Martial there, all 3 that didn't start yesterday. So, and Carrick as well, like Carrick, Fellaini. We have a brilliant squad, which is why I think we can handle it a lot better than the likes of Spurs will. I think Spurs, especially if they're in a title race by then, they'll rest the likes of Harry Kane, Dele Alli and stuff when they're in the Europa League.
Yeah. I think we've got a decision to make in February, but I think the decision will be a tough one because I said back at Christmas, if we're within 5 points of top 4, it's a big decision to make because top 4's on, and I think we will be. Anabav makes 17 unbeaten games don't count unless and until we snatch away all the points from teams like Stoke. Yeah, the unbeaten run. I mean, Mourinho even said it on Friday. I'm not fussed. The unbeaten run means nothing. That's the sort of thing. I even had an Arsenal fan on Twitter today. Where somebody, I said, like, you've not won the title in 10 years, and they said, how many seasons have you gone unbeaten? I mean, come on. Would you swap a Premier League title for going unbeaten for a season? Jesus Christ. Daz1169 says, we'll get top 4, and to celebrate, I'll shave my wife's vagina. That was what was making me laugh. People were asking why we were laughing. Please do like the video, because it's nice when you like the video, and we appreciate all your comments. Xander was meant to be on tonight, but I messed up with the other screen that says should we drop Rooney, which is from an old thing. And I've had that much hate today. I just thought I can't be bothered. I haven't got time to change it, so we just went with this format. So sorry to Xander. He can come on Skype Goldbridge tomorrow, and it is Skype Goldbridge tomorrow at 8:30. So I'm hoping all these people who've been mouthing off on Twitter all day are actually going to come on and tell me what they think tomorrow, because I'll look forward to that. But also, something I've never mentioned before, underneath the video there is a share button. If you're on Facebook or Twitter, especially Facebook, if you could just click it and share it, you can still watch and do it. That'd be fantastic, because we're trying to pick up on Facebook, and that would be really useful for us. So, and you can still do it while you're watching. So that's something you could do for us. Just like the video and share it. That'd be brilliant. Let's have a look. Arsenal fans thinking they can get Griezmann. I always think, if he wasn't going to go to United, then maybe he'd go to Arsenal. But I just think we've got the cards. And his name's Paul Pogba, and that's it. And anyway, I think Alex is going to make a load of money when he signs for Manchester United, because I was at the Football Blogging Awards last year, and speaking to a Zlatan lookalike who doesn't really look like Zlatan, who makes a bloody load. And I think Alex really does look like Griezmann. And as a Manchester United stand regular, he could be raking it in this time next year. So I think he will sign. I really do. No, what I wanted to talk about now, just give an opinion on the top four, because I don't know whether people are aware of this, but the next few fixtures for United are Hull next Thursday night. We're doing a Thursday-Sunday this week. I don't know why, but it doesn't really matter, but we are doing a Thursday-Sunday. We're playing Hull away in the second leg, as Alex was saying, on Thursday night at 7:45. Then on Sunday, it's the FA Cup against Wigan, where I hope we use people like Martial, so that's nice. But then on Wednesday, we're playing, after that, Hull at home. That's our next league game, which we really should get 3 points in that. Then we've got Leicester away, which they'll probably turn up for that like they did against City, but they're awful at the moment. Then we've got Watford at home, which you'd say we should win that as well. Then the Europa League kicks in then, so we could have another 9 points by the time the Europa kicks in. And then it gets very complicated because we'll have another FA Cup round. We'll have Europa. We've got City at the end of February, but we won't play City then because that'll be the Coca-Cola Cup or whatever it's called. Then we've got Bournemouth at home in the league, Southampton away, Middlesbrough away, and then we're into April where we've got West Brom at home, Everton at home, Sunderland away, and then like Alex says, it starts to get a bit tough. So the run of league games isn't particularly challenging, I wouldn't say, but the issue is like whether the games are going to come thick and fast. We might pick up injuries. We've got to put the ball in the back of the net. I think that's the problem for Manchester United. So I'm just going to ask Alex this, and everyone else in the comments can say what they think, because it does change week to week. I think Manchester United will finish second, and I know that sounds like a bit of a bold statement at the moment, but if you're asking me where I think we'll finish, I think we'll finish second. I think Arsenal are going into the Champions League, and they always have a bad March, and they've got some tough fixtures coming up. I think Liverpool could push us for second, but I've said we'll finish above them. I think it'll be Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Arsenal, and I don't think City and Spurs will be in the top four. But what are your thoughts on that, Alex? Top four, do you think we'll get it, and where do you think we'll finish?
I think Spurs definitely will get it. I think Liverpool at the moment are looking like, if there is one of these current top four teams that will drop out, it looks like it's them. They've won one game in their last 6, which was a 1-0 win against Plymouth Argyle, who are in like League 2 or something. So they're in really bad form. Because like what I touched upon earlier with Liverpool is that the way they play is such high energy, high pressing and everything, you can't sustain it. And like I was saying about our squad depth, Liverpool really don't have that good of squad depth. But it's going to be hard. It's like no one's dropping points, but it just depends. I think we will maybe get it, but I think if we get it, we'll be fourth. But like I said, if not, I think we should win the Europa League. It just also depends how seriously Jose takes the Europa League, and also how serious the players do, because we're a way better team than the likes of Fenerbahce. Yet when we played against them, they in Turkey, they were the better team when we lost to them. So it looked like the players just couldn't be bothered. There was that video going around of like the anthem or whatever for Europa League, and just all of our players just looked like they couldn't be asked to even be there. So if they take that attitude against St Etienne, then we could even be punished by them. But I think once it gets into the later rounds, they'll start to take it more seriously. Well, that's what I'm hoping anyway. So because at the moment they're just like, oh, it's just St Etienne, we'll steamroll them, which is what I think has been our problem with quite a few of the games, that we just expect sometimes, because we're Man United, because we sign the likes of Pogba, Mkhitaryan and Zlatan, that all we have to do is turn up and that we'll put 4 or 5 past some team. But I think we should get top 4, but it's going to be really tight because, like I said, all of the top 6 aren't really losing.
Just a message to Gavin C. If you're wondering why you can't type on the live comments anymore, it's not a free-for-all to come on and abuse people. It actually is the United Stand. It's a Manchester United fan channel. And if we don't like your comments, you just get blocked. So it isn't some sort of free-for-all where you can just come in and abuse people. Sorry, mate. That's why you can't type anymore. I shouldn't have told him, really. It makes me smile to think that he's there tapping away thinking that he's actually getting a comment put up. But this is like a kid at Christmas. It's a month later, and I want to talk about this. It was a brilliant comment, and we're going to talk transfers after it, but I just want to do it because I've been waiting to do it. I couldn't open the show with it because people would moan, but I want to talk about this. What current Manchester... And live comments can get involved as well, obviously. Massively part of it. What current Manchester United player would get into the Manchester United treble winning side? Now I know, I don't know, I'm not saying I'm right, but I've thought about it, and I know who I would say. Now let's remind ourselves of that 99 winning side. I mean, it's not necessarily the team from the final, but it's what the best of was. So you've got Schmeichel in goal, Gary Neville, Stam and Johnson, I would say. Left back, Dennis Irwin, obviously. brilliant midfield. Beckham, Scholes, Keane and Giggs, and then Cole and York up front. You could throw Sheringham and Solskjaer in there as well, but I would go Cole and York. So what current player players, Alex, would you put into that 99 side? I could only put 2 in.
There's one who I'm guessing you might pick, who I really want to put in, but I don't know whether we've seen enough of him yet to say, which would be put Bailly with Stam, because I think that would be an absolutely unstoppable defensive duo. But then the only other person who I can make a case for, and people rip me for it, but I'm saying as an individual talent, not of how they would gel with the team or if they'd fit in the team, would be Zlatan.
Yeah, I don't think Zlatan is, I don't care what anybody says. Zlatan, there's no weak areas in that 99 side. It won the treble, for God's sake. But if there are areas, I'd say Ronnie Johnson potentially. I wouldn't put Bailly in there myself, but I can see why people might talk about that. And then I think the 2 strikers, based on what we've got at the moment, Zlatan would have to be in there. And then maybe the keeper as well. I don't know, would you swap De Gea for Schmeichel?
Oh, and also, is this players in their prime? Because if it's in their prime, then Rooney gets in.
Yes, fair to. Oh, no, but it's not. I suppose it isn't. It isn't. It's teams, it's players now, because it's more like. I think the gist of the question was what players from our current squad. I think what they're trying to say is how good is this team compared to the 99 side? Because we all go, what a great squad we've got. We've got so many good players, but are they that good, and would they get in that team? I would put Zlatan in there over Cole or York still.
Yeah, you can make a case for De Gea over Schmeichel, and I think maybe one day, if he stays with the club for another 3-4 years and we go on to be successful, then you could say he's our greatest ever keeper. But I think at the moment, for Schmeichel back then to De Gea now, I would still go with Schmeichel, to be honest.
Yeah, I still went with Schmeichel, but I still think that, it's like George Kyle saying De Gea, Bailly and Zlatan. Peaks is saying De Gea. John Leondes is saying Pogba, Valencia, De Gea and Mickey. I disagree on Pogba, because where are you going to play him? There's no place in that midfield of Beckham, Giggs, Scholes and Keane. I've always said, I was so lucky to see it week in, week out, and it's the perfect midfield 4. You can't, individually you might say somebody's better than them, but collectively it just had everything. You've got the dribbler, you've got the technique of Beckham, you've got the guile of Scholes, and you've got the absolute leadership of Keane. There's no space for anybody in there. You can only be talking attack, defence or goalkeeper. Cole and York were amazing, says Tox Kazim. They were. No way De Gea would get in instead of Pig Peter, says Lee. Schmeichel all the way, says Zach. Drotty Devil says De Gea over Schmeichel. Are you mad? Peter every day, and Zlatan over York, and that's it. Yeah, that's the interesting one. Would you take Cole or York out? I'd take York out. I prefer, and Dan the Man saying Cole or York. I love Andy Cole. Andy Cole with Zlatan yesterday battered them because he's just so clinical, but you probably wouldn't get away with playing a 4-4-2 these days. In fact, you probably wouldn't. Schmeichel all day, says Darth Vader. Damian Young, Fellaini Lingard, says Mikey 94. Bailly only, says Sandeep D. The Valencia one's an interesting one, Alex. Actually, I wouldn't put Valencia ahead of Gary Neville, but the reason I've sort of picked up on it there is because Valencia. Somebody said today, "Will Valencia go down as a United great?" And I said, if you said in the summer, I'd laugh you out. I'd laugh at you. But he's been so consistently good this season. We've obviously had the Mourinho comment that he's the best right back in the world at the moment. Now, I don't agree with that, but I can't think of a better right back. He's definitely better than Kyle Walker. He's definitely the best in the Premier League. He does have his flaws, like Draughty was saying the other night. He can't cross for toffee, but he's an absolute beast of a right back. I think if he could cross, I would be struggling to say he was better than Gary Neville. But Gary Neville he wasn't naturally a fantastic footballer, but he obviously went and studied the game and worked very, very hard. And his crossing ability was fantastic. His defensive positional sense was fantastic. I saw Gary Neville in a quarter-final against Portugal. I think it was in 2006. And Portugal had, I think they had Figo on one wing and Ronaldo on the other. And I think it was Neville. They kept swapping sides, but it was Neville and Ashley Cole against them two. And I don't know whether we were down to 10 men or we were just under the cosh, but it was, they were absolutely getting run ragged by talented players, but they weren't run ragged. They both had them in their pocket. It was by both fullbacks, Cole and Neville, was probably the best fullback performances I've seen. So no, I wouldn't put Valencia in there, but Valencia has been phenomenal.
I can see why someone would say it, but Gary Neville is probably, well, not even probably, he's the best right back in Premier League history. So, but I completely agree with Jose about him being probably the best in the world. I can't really think of, I know Dani Alves got in the team of the year, but you have to take that with a pinch of salt anyway, because if he came to the Premier League, he would be exposed so badly defensively. He's brilliantly going forward, but he's not that great defensively. Whereas Valencia, his crossing, I think, has improved a little bit this season. He put in that, he's even put in a cross with his left foot that was absolutely shocked me, because he's like the most one-footed player I've ever seen, because he always refuses to use his left. But
a few people saying Bellerin, Alex.
Bellerin. I would take Valencia over Bellerin any day. But also, it's not only that, like Gary Neville obviously had his work rate and everything, but Valencia is an absolute warrior. Do you remember that? I can't remember if it was like one season ago, or no, it wasn't one. It was like 2 or 3 seasons ago where he got like smashed in the face and he looked like Frankenstein or something with that huge like lump on his face, and then came back on the pitch, which most players, like 99% of players, would never have carried on through that, because he couldn't even see out of one eye. He played the rest of the game with only one eye open, and he's been... I don't know if he'll go down as a United legend, but he's definitely a first choice right back, and he deserved that new contract extension.
Yeah, definitely. Bellerin is just Tony Hibbert with pace. That's what I would say. Dan Demand says Carrick may be in the 99 squad. Oh yeah, there's players from the current squad who would be in the squad. Yeah, definitely, I would agree with that. Let's talk a little bit about. We've done Zlatan. We've done Martial. I'm going to do the Rooney out of 10 thing in a minute, because that'll be fun. But transfers, 10 days to go, or 9 days to go now. Little bit of rumours about this Guedes player at Benfica, 20-year-old attacking player. I talked about him a couple of months ago. I don't think it'll happen, not now, maybe in the summer. But Lindelof is still a possibility for anybody who keeps going on about that. But do you think we will sign anybody, Alex, before the transfer window is up? This Guedes lad has basically been linked to us because we sold Memphis, I think.
No, I don't think we'll sign anyone, in fairness. But if we did sign someone, I'd want it to be someone that can put the ball in the back of the net. Because defensively, we actually seemed like solid. Like the last 2 goals, it was pissing me off thinking about it yesterday. That Pogba handball against Liverpool, which he didn't even need to do, he easily would have won the header. And then that own goal yesterday. The goals we have conceded have been so stupid, but they haven't really been down to defensive errors necessarily. I thought... I was worried when Smalling was playing over Rojo, who would have ever thought we'd be saying that last season, but that he was good enough. Jones was solid again. So defensively, I don't think we really need signings. But then you always have at the back of your mind when you're playing with Rojo and Jones, is will they go back to the old Rojo and Jones? It's like, are they in just good form, or have they actually improved? But one thing I was thinking about, and I don't even know if he would actually do it in January, is that all these rumours about Griezmann and everything, apparently he has a 80 whatever pound buyout clause in his contract. So surely you could just pay the buyout clause and get him in now, if he does actually have a buyout clause.
Yeah, we could, but I suppose the problem with that is, and I don't blame Griezmann for it, is they're still in the Champions League, aren't they? So he's probably thinking, what do I do? Do I want to go and battle for 4th and the Europa League, or shall I just go there in the summer and play in the Champions League? And I wouldn't blame him that really. And big players never really go in January, do they? I suppose, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. Ahmed says Amjad, sorry, you don't need to sign anyone. Squad is big. United don't need to sign anyone. Squad is big enough. Guedes might happen. Jose can build his experience in Europa League, says Mikey. And Lewis says, Mark, why don't you go to games? I've said this so many times. I used to go about 5 times a season. We started doing the United Stand. We do the watch-alongs. We do the match reactions. So at the moment, I just can't go to games, and that's, it's sad. I will start going again soon, but that is why it is. And to be honest, I'm very honest about this opinion. I'm very honest about that, and I'm very honest about this as well. I don't buy in. I respect Manchester United fans who goes to games, especially the away games. They make a huge, huge difference. But I don't buy into this, that you're a better fan just because you go to games. Because if only fans who went to games were fans of Manchester United would probably be in about League 2 with a very small income and a very big ground in League 2. Because it's the global support that make Manchester United top of the Deloitte money coming in league. And trust me, the club value the fans who don't go to games far more than the ones that they do, because they make a lot more money off them. I'm not saying fans who go to the games aren't great fans. They are. They make a massive, massive difference. But I'm not one of those who think you're any better or worse because you don't. Nathan makes a good point. Again, imagine if Ramos rumours weren't... well, I think he's basically saying, imagine if we got Ramos, which, if you're talking about as being good on corners, it's probably one of the signings that we didn't make that really annoys me. I really wanted Ramos last summer. And I think, he's suited to the Premier League and he's so good in the air. So good in the air. But do I think we'll sign anybody in the summer? Do I think we'll sign anyone in the next 10 days? No, but we have sold 2 players for nearly 40 million, so maybe we will. We'll finish on the man of the moment, Alex, Wayne Rooney. Well, maybe not finish, but we'll talk about Wayne Rooney. I was asked today, what would you give Wayne Rooney out of 10 for his Manchester United career? And the person who asked the question said they'd give a 10. I said I would give him a 9, and I gave him a 9 because the last 3 years, I don't care what... apparently Wayne Rooney silenced me yesterday and made me shut up because he scored an absolutely brilliant free kick. I don't really think he did. He broke a record, and he saved us a point, which Jose himself said he didn't save a point. We lost 2. I just think the reason... I'm comfortable giving him a 9 out of 10, which is a fantastic score, but the last 3 years just haven't... Since he took the captaincy, it's just not been what I expected. And maybe that's to do with what you said about age catching up with him, because I can see week in, week out, the willingness is there, the brain process is there, and that's why he scored that free kick yesterday, because it's a dead ball, there's nobody around him harassing him, it's totally about technique, and he's got the time to put the technique in. The problem with him now is the game's too quick for him and he's on the decline, and that's why he snatches at shots, this, that and the other. And just to talk about the free kick quickly, because you'll like this comment, Alex. David Beckham, how old is he now? Must be in his early 40s. He'd have scored that free kick yesterday. Doesn't mean he could run around in a Manchester United shirt. Technique doesn't die. Wayne Rooney's technique is not going to die. What's dying is his speed of his body speed, and it catches up with everybody. Gerrard was finished at 30, so it is just a sad thing. But as a career, I'm glad I witnessed him breaking the goal record. I'd rather Sir Bobby kept it. I'm honest about that, but that's because Sir Bobby Charlton is an absolute Manchester United legend. He goes to every Manchester United game, and he'll go to every Manchester United game till he dies. He's Mr. Manchester United. No other ex-player really does that, do they? He is superb. But this is the modern game. Records are there to be broken. Really pleased that I witnessed it. But 9 out of 10 just based on the last 3 years. I think it's been disappointing when he actually got what I thought would inspire him, the captaincy.
Yeah, I'm going to give him 8.5. I think 10 out of 10 would be like Messi at Barcelona, Ronaldo at Real Madrid when they're scoring like 50 odd every single season. Rooney's had 2 seasons where he's hit above 30. That's not to take away from him because he hasn't always. Well, actually, for the majority of his career, he hasn't been playing as a striker, but he's been able to fill in everywhere. I truly think in his prime he could have basically played any position on the pitch. He was that good. He's obviously declined in the last few years, as I said. I'm happy for him to still stay at the club. Everyone says how we've been negative on him. I just said that he shouldn't be a starter anymore, and I still stand by it. He shouldn't be a starter anymore, but I think he can still put a shift in. I don't mind him coming in for games. I know hindsight's 20/20 and everything, but I would have probably played Rooney on the left-hand side rather than play Matty yesterday. I know that.
Yeah, I said it in the preview. This is what makes me laugh. I was shocked Rooney didn't start. I thought he was going to start.
Yeah, because I think Matto, just to go off topic quickly, that he shouldn't really be playing in away games. He's a kind of a luxury player, like we always said. With home games, he'd be brilliant in. But I think Rooney would have put more of a shift in, and I think he has created a lot of chances. Like, if you look at it per 90, I think Rooney's been our most creative player when he's actually been on the pitch. But it's an amazing achievement. He was an absolutely ridiculously good player. I tend to forget, that Rooney documentary came out, I think was it this year or last year, whenever it was, last season or this season. And it just reminded me of what an absolutely brilliant player he used to be, in his prime. And it's weird, I guess, because of his body type, that his prime seemed to end at 24, 25. He was way better when he was younger, but he's still a great player. I think he was just equally as important in that 08 team as Ronaldo was. I know he scored nowhere near the amount of goals, but he was the unsung hero because he was absolutely out of this world on his day. But like you said, his legs, maybe because of his like body type, that he does deteriorate quicker. Like you said, Gerrard deteriorated a lot quicker than the likes of Carrick, who's still playing when Gerrard was off in the MLS at this stage. But yeah, take nothing away from him. He's been a brilliant player for us. And just quickly, what I was saying, how people always say about the is he a legend, is he not a legend? But I kind of agreed with him when he was putting in that transfer request to, what was it, City or Chelsea, whoever wanted him, but the first time round, not the second one. Because he was saying that United weren't ambitious enough and that's why he wanted to leave. And I 100% agree with him. If you look at the signings that we made, or we were making when he was wanting to leave, we weren't being ambitious enough. We're Manchester United. We should have been signing the type of calibre of player that we're signing now all along. And I know that could be, well, that is down to the Glazers and everything, but I completely agree that we weren't being ambitious enough.
No, I do. You know what? People say, why don't you like Wayne Rooney? Which is just ridiculous. It's like yesterday with the reaction. My first and main focus is Manchester United winning games, and people who watch the watch along know what I'm like. I'm quite petulant when it doesn't go my way, and that's me naturally reacting. And I was petulant in the last few minutes of the game yesterday. I didn't really react to the goal record because I was just pissed off. I was really annoyed that we'd let 2 points go, especially after that Liverpool result. I was so frustrated, and I couldn't hide it. And that's honesty. But what my issue with Wayne Rooney is nothing. I'm a bit like Alex. The transfer thing was bad. If you witnessed Sir Alex Ferguson, it wasn't very nice seeing him basically really upset on being interviewed about it, saying Rooney's asked to go. But the club maybe brought it on themselves. We weren't signing players. That's not why my issue with it is really just that it just comes to the last 3 years. I just think it's not been good enough from somebody who, and I'm old enough, I don't know whether Alex is, to remember his whole career. And I think it's because he was so good that the last 3 years have been so disappointing. But there are people out there who just can't stand him because of the transfer thing. And, everyone's got an opinion. Kevin McGee says 8.5. Dan Deman says 8. Darth Vader says 9.9. Last 3 years, a 6, says Matt Wilkes. Before that, a 10. I think that's a good comment. 9 says Sandeep. 8 says Lewis Batchelor. 9 says Mini Messiah 42. Pre-2010 and 8. After a 5, says Simon Wright. Whew. Don't put that on Twitter, mate. You'll get absolute loads of rubbish. John Leander says 8. Antonio Milky says 9. Louise O'Donoghue says 8.5. How are some of you giving him a 7, says Alex O'Donnell. I would give him a 9, says Candice Quinn. Mad Marcus gave him a 7.5. Our moderator is obviously in a suicidal mood tonight. 7.5. Now, I think, apparently I'm a Rooney hater, but I would give him a 9. I think, some of the things he did in the early career were fantastic. If he'd maintained that, he'd be pushing it for a 10, but it's just the last 3 years. I always said about Rooney, and if you've been watching the United stand long enough, I'm sure Alex can remember the discussions we've had, so I will throw this back to him. We've had this so many times. I think the captaincy did him no good at all from Van Gaal. I think it tamed Rooney, and Rooney was always that player who picked up yellow cards, aggressive, on the edge, and the minute he got the England captaincy and the United captaincy, he started trying to be Mr. Professional. I mean, we saw it when Rashford or Lingard got attacked at the start of the season, and it was all kicking off, and Rooney just sort of didn't want to get involved. And I thought, 5 years ago, Rooney would have been in there. And I think the captaincy tamed him, and by taming him, he lost that edge. And coupled with decline, I think he went from this great player to just being what is a decent player.
Yeah, I think it wasn't necessarily even the captaincy. I think he said it himself in that documentary that he mellowed down a lot when he had his first kid, when Kai was born, and he obviously had to be more of a role model, more of an example, and I think that did make him grow up a lot. But I completely agree. He was way better when he was on the edge and way more aggressive, but he just mellowed down when he had a kid, and it happens to a lot of players, to be honest, that when they get older, they get a lot more like calm and like less aggressive than they used to be when they were a kid. But he was just absolutely insane in his prime, and like it will kind of make me sad when he leaves, because he's like the last player left aside from Carrick, but Carrick was in and out of the England squad. He wasn't like a regular. Rooney would be like the last player left of my childhood, like when I grew up watching like Beckham, Lampard, Gerrard, everyone in the England squad, and like growing up, that Rooney's like the last person left of that. So it will be sad when he calls it a day. It makes me feel old.
Oh yeah, welcome to the club. I was talking to somebody the other day, and this is not Manchester United related, but I was talking to somebody the other day about how to remember Italia 90 and Euro 96, you've got to be over about 27 because it's just, Euro 96 was 20 years ago. So, and I remember I was drinking at Euro 96, so it just makes you realise how time passes and how quick it goes. Which I just want to say as well, for all this bloody, I can take it like water off a duck's back, but all this hate amongst Manchester United fans today because of a reaction to a Rooney goal, it's bloody ridiculous. Go and get a life. Come on, life's too short. There's so much badness in the world. Just because you disagree with somebody's opinion, don't watch the bloody content. There's no need to start threatening of violence. As I said on Twitter today, for all the abuse and threats of violence I've had today from 12-year-olds hiding behind Twitter accounts, I'm telling the teacher, it's ridiculous. Mark, which players do you think Mourinho will sell? I know Shaka's been asking this a long time. Mata, Blind, Darmian, Rojo. Okay, Mata I think is going to go. I said that earlier this morning. I think he's too good to be a bench player, and I think he'll just go back to Spain and play for somebody week in, week out. Daley Blind is a good shout. I think he will go as well. I think he's a very useful squad player, but he's being marginalised, and he didn't really have a good game yesterday. Darmian, I would sell. I don't think he offers us anything really. Rojo, I think will stay. So out of those four, Mata, Blind, Darmian, Rojo, Alex, do you think you think Mata will stay, don't you?
Yeah, I think he's had a lot of game time this season, so I don't necessarily think he will go. Like I said, he is kind of a luxury player due to his lack of defensive ability, but he's a great player to have. Even though he has a lack of pace, I think he is a good player to bring on as an impact sub, like we saw against West Ham, because he has the quick thinking to make these creative chances, and he is a normal. I know yesterday apart, he's normally a really good finisher. And one thing a lot of people might not know is that he is the best of the current active players in the Premier League. He is the best free kick conversion rate in the whole league.
Yeah, we've had a few free kicks this season where he's just not been on the pitch, and if we would have had him on, they're just perfect step up Juan Mata's. But I like Juan Mata. I think he conducts himself superbly. He's a model professional, but you can't judge him on yesterday. It was just a bad day at the office. People were saying, "Oh, why aren't you calling Mata out when you call Fellaini out?" Well, there's a big difference between Juan Mata and Marouane Fellaini. One I think should be in a United shirt, and the other I think shouldn't. And certain players I will give them a bit of a free ride because I just like them as footballers. And maybe that's wrong, but that's me. That's my opinion. I don't want Mata to go. I've got a feeling he might go. Apparently, if Ivory Coast lose this weekend, we'll get Bay back. Says Ian Fark. He'd be welcome back. I think we do sort of need him. Ethan Vlogs, where did you get your jacket from? I got it last Christmas, the Christmas before last, off the United website. I think it was just a limited edition thing, but you might be able to get it if you look around. Somebody, Alex Ray, Matty Ray said, would you rather have last season where we weren't creating chances or this season when we are creating chances but missing? I'd rather be entertained, Matty, to be honest. I'm sure most of us would. I really hope Shaw doesn't get sold. Alex was talking about at the start, Brian Price. I'm with Alex on that. I want Luke Shaw to be given a chance. I think we are desperately missing balance at left back. Valencia gets forward, bombs forward. I think Luke Shaw's made to do that. Just on that, Alex, I think we've spoken about Martial. I'd put Luke Shaw into that category. I think Mkhitaryan was in it a few months ago. So there is hope that these two players will come in and start to build what is our starting 11. I think Carrick, Herrera and Pogba shouldn't be messed around with between now and the end of the season. I get that Carrick's 35 and he needs to be replaced, but we shouldn't be doing it in the middle of the season, especially off a brilliant run that he's basically conducted. You've got to get Carrick, Pogba and Herrera back together ASAP and run it to the end of the season. Zlatan's obviously always going to be up front. I'd have Mkhitaryan on the right, Martial on the left. He's got to bed him in though. I'd Luke Shaw at the left back, Valencia right back, Bailly and one other with him, either Rojo or Jones. De Gea in goal. I think you've got a fantastic team. We just need to try and play it as much as possible. And Mourinho needs to iron out whatever the issues are with Martial and Shaw and get them in that team. Because there are issues, we just don't know what they are.
Yeah, I think every United fan would choose basically the same lineup you did. With Bay, I don't know whether for the moment, I think individually he is easily our best centre-back, but Rojo and Jones have a really good partnership at the moment, so I don't know whether I'd break up. You could try slotting Bay in and seeing if he can play with, I guess it would be Rojo because he's more comfortable on the left side and maybe strike up a partnership there, but for the moment. I think Jones is actually starting to fulfil his potential, and I think he's been absolutely brilliant since he's come back. Touch wood, I think this is the longest he's gone without getting injured in like the whole time we've had him. Actually, I think. And I think he's been a really good player. I think in terms of with England as well, if he doesn't start for England over John Stones, then that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. But you said the exact team that I would say, but whether it happens or not, I doubt it. I don't think. It depends on like what you said with Mkhitaryan. Mkhitaryan, when he got dropped for the team for so long, he had a really good attitude and just knuckled down, showed Mourinho that he was working hard and got his chance, and then like forced his way into the team as well. With Martial and Luke Shaw, I kind of worry about their attitudes a bit, that whether they'll like sulk a bit by being dropped, which is what worries me. I hope that they can take Mkhitaryan as an example, and then just because he will. Mourinho showed if you actually play well, he'll keep you in the team. So all they have to do is play well.
Craig Vaughan said, "What's the top 5 prediction?" I'd done that. Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Spurs. Phil Jones. Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head there. We've never seen him. I think up until I think it was only about a month ago. 6 games in a row were the most he's ever played for United before he got injured in 3 or 4 years. So this is uncharted territory from Phil Jones, and I think we are seeing a different Phil Jones because he stayed fit. And we said this 2 years ago. Smalling stayed fit. He used to get injured. He used to get injured a lot. He stayed fit. He had a good run. So yeah, Phil Jones. He's doing. You were totally right. I was right in the summer to say sell him. He's rubbish because we were always judging him off 3 or 4 games gets injured, and he was never. In them 3 or 4 games runs, he wasn't that good because he wasn't having the consistency. Just shows you if you can stay fit and play a run of games in a team, you start to see the real player. And also he's got an absolute defensive mastermind with Mourinho. We've seen what he's done with Rojo and Jones and Valencia. Just quickly, somebody just said it in the comments there. Memphis. Would you have Memphis back? Do you think that's... I can't think of an example of any player that's flopped playing well at another club then coming back. I think the pressure on Memphis would be ridiculous. Even if he played really well for Lyon, I think to come back... You just have a load of pressure, everything like that, and then I just can't see it happening. I can't see it happening.
I mean, it happened with Mourinho bringing Matic back after I think he was at Benfica or something like that.
Yes, he did. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, Chelsea sold him to Benfica, and then Jose brought him back, and he's been good for them since then. But there's all these rumours about this buyback clause, and then other people disputing it. I don't think we would have put a buyback clause in it. We maybe would have put in a sell-on clause, which would be good for us. But I think I heard the PSG were in for him, so it's kind of weird that he chose where did he go? Lyon, Marseille, one of them. But Lyon. I think he will tear it up in the French league. You don't have to look. Balotelli's tearing it up in the French league, and so both of them will be scooped up like the summer after. I think he'll go there, do really well, and then some other team will pick him up. But I think it's a good move for him. It was a good move for the club. Same with Schneiderlin.
The French, people. There's not a hell of a lot of difference between the Dutch league and the French league. I accept that there are some good French teams, but the majority of it are pub teams, as we'll see when we play Saint Etienne. And he will rip it up in there. But just so Joey Barton ripped it up in there. Joe Cole went over there when he was finished over here and ripped it up over there. It's very hard to judge that you're ripping it up in the French league to say you can come and do it in the Premier League. But I can't.
The greatest striker of all time is also currently tearing it up in the French league.
Who's that? Falcao.
My hero. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Falcao couldn't do it at 2 clubs. We all wanted him to. Goes back to the French league and he can do it. Week in, week out, it is not a very competitive league. But I'm not saying that people can't do it because people have done it. But I can't see him coming back to United. I just think the pressure on him would be ridiculous. And he didn't handle the pressure that well this time, did he? So, I don't know. Apparently he's coming on in the Lyon game, says Sol Goodall. That's interesting. I might just pop off and watch a bit of Lyon and Memphis because we haven't seen him play for about 18 months, have we? So thanks for that shout out. We are about to close up, and I think I probably will go and watch him with. I presume it's on some sort of sports channel. So I'm off to watch a bit of Memphis. I'm genuinely excited and interested about that. You've made my Sunday night quite encouraging because I'm disappointed that we're finishing the show. It's been really good, but I am going to go and watch a bit of Memphis. That's great. Thanks for coming on, Alex.
Thanks for having me on. Just wish it was a better result, but hopefully next week it will be a better result when I'm on.
Yeah, we've got a couple of cup games coming up. Thursday, watch along, Thursday night, and we've got next Sunday, we've got a watch along for the Wigan game. And then next Wednesday, we've got a league game at home against Hull. So hopefully 3 wins in a row. I'd be really shocked if we don't. But and all positive. Every game's exciting for United. It always is, but it's really exciting at the moment. Skype Goldbridge tomorrow at 8:30. Whatever you want to talk about. If you want to get involved in the controversies of Twitter today, welcome on the show. Anybody is welcome. So Skype in tomorrow at 8:30. May well do a transfer video in the morning. I'll see how I feel. But yeah, thanks. Brilliant. Absolutely superb. Live comments have been really good. We've covered everything we wanted to do. Like I say, thanks to Alex. You can follow him on Twitter at AXAS23, I think. Yeah, got that right. And at United Stand MUFC on Twitter if you want to follow us as well. But thanks to all of you lot. Please do drop a like on the video. And if you've got a couple of seconds to just share it on Facebook with the share buttons at the bottom, that would be really helpful for the channel. It is your channel. And the bigger we get, the bigger your voice gets. But tomorrow night, please do tune in for Skype Goldbridge. It's your opportunity to come on. I don't script it. We talk about what you want to talk about. So I look forward to that. I'm off to watch a bit of Memphis. You know, there's loads of Memphis fans out there. You've all been moaning about him being given a chance. He's playing on the telly now, so let's all go and watch a bit of Memphis. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon.